Okay, welcome to another video where I have no idea what it is I'm going to speak about yet, but I will figure it out as soon as I'm done scratching the back of my head, which weirds me out sometimes because I don't know why I do that. And where does the itch come from? Where did you come from, itch? I'm trying to figure that out still. I believe that it has to do with my emotions. And it's weird. It's like when I go run through different emotional oscillations, the itches and the directions and avenues of them change. And then I started noticing a certain level of correlation between my emotional state and my nuanced, subtle bodily movements, like these bodily movements now, scratching the back of the head. Moving one's face like this, you just feel this certain energy, you start moving in this direction, and then your hand creates this automatic response. And I started studying that and noticing that it seems to correlate with our emotional states, as well as I suppose the quality of our thoughts. I noticed that mainly emotions. It's quite interesting. I also noticed it has to do with, I suppose, self-doubt, being uncertain about something, unsure, insecurities. It's quite interesting. So there's definitely a huge correlation between our subconscious automatic bodily movement and the itch and the scratch. It's like they almost come together, the itch and the scratch. It's like the itch is getting the scratch to meet the itch, whatever. I remember that one show in The Simpsons, Itchy and Scratchy. I always thought about that. Until one day I went through PTSD and started noticing the increased involuntary bodily reactions. And I started wondering, was it some sort of bodily response towards trauma? Some sort of response towards emotional trauma that seemed to be manifesting within my body, within different itches and scratches. Because at a certain point, it got so weird to the point where I would be doing it like I am now. And also I'm doing it more now because I'm speaking about it. It's like I've basically healed it and worked on it, but I started noticing that everyone actually does this, funnily enough. And I believe that these itches and scratches seem to link towards our emotions and our mind and our thoughts, which are quite interesting, because at first it creeped me out because it's like so weird. I was like, what? Maybe I just became hyper aware, and I was like, this is so weird because I feel the itch and the scratch, but they're like one. And I'm like, why is this happening? So I started analyzing and looking at that as much as possible, and analyzing my emotional states and my own levels of trauma, as well as potential bodily responses. And it's not much of a stretch to imagine that certain emotional traumas affecting our highly complicated human vehicles have the ability in order to create a certain phenomena like this, this itchy and scratchy feeling in which it is that we get. And I did start liking, because I started analyzing them more. Some people may say I think too much, but I looked at it and I'm like, this is interesting. It's almost like it's showing me I've got a lot of, like there's people that twitch all the time and they've been through some crazy trauma and they like twitch or whatever, because it's some trauma-based involuntarily bodily response. And it's quite interesting. And at first it seems weird, but I suppose once you start using it towards your advantage, then it actually helps you realize potentially what trauma it is that you may be holding onto. Because any level of psychological discomfort or trauma will actually manifest in your physical appearance. I mean, if it can manifest, if what I'm saying is correct, which I absolutely believe it is, because I've been studying it, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't know if anyone else has been, but if your body can manifest like an itch and a scratch, right, then your body can manifest everything else to do with your appearance. Now, it all depends on how much you love yourself, like genuinely and sincerely. And also, but that's a lot more complicated than it sounds, because it involves having to untangle like a whole bunch of emotional traumas that have been backlogged into your being, your system. because we are these emotional slash physical slash energetic beings who carry with us memories of the past. And these memories of the past can act as like little thorns lodged into our emotional or psychological body. So they can, if not dealt with, they can continue to create more and more discomfort within the body. You know, it goes back to that analogy that says, well, you want to clear the emotional wound because as soon as possible because when you clean all the dirt out of it, then it is able to start healing. So if you don't clear out all the substratum emotional energy due to our relationship towards our memories, mostly. It really has to do with your relationship towards your memories, okay? Because your relationship towards your memories will determine your subconscious autonomous behavior. So like the itch and the scratch, right? It's the subconscious autonomous behavior. It just happens by itself, basically. It seems to anyways. So these, what is the best way to call it? It's like a redundancy we end up creating inside of ourselves. It's like your computer, when we had those older computers back in the day, and your computer may have been running a bit slower than usual, then what we ended up doing with the computer was we did a system, some sort of like system cleaning. I can't remember. Fuck. But basically, it's like emptying your recycle bin. It's like your computer ends up having too much space and not enough space because your recycle bin may be too full. So basically what it is you have to end up doing is you have to delete this contents in your recycle bin. And if you don't, then your computer won't have what it requires to in order to operate at its optimum operating capacity. Yeah. So if you want to be operating at your happiest, at your healthiest, at your loveliest, then you need to basically head towards any emotional trauma and wounding. And I suppose wrangle it within your mind to try and find some sort of higher reasoning or purpose or lesson or value in which it is you can derive from it in one shape, way or another. And what that ultimately helps you do is to transmute the energy of that memory, and it changes your relationship towards that memory energy complex within your mind. This sounds very confusing, but the point, it's very simple. You have memories lingering around within you based on certain traumas that are logged into your energetic field, and they come up psychically and loop throughout time in a very funny way, actually. It's funny how our trauma can sort of resurface in what seems to be almost like an algorithm at times, or a constantly evolving algorithm. But I just say algorithm because of the word rhythm and cycles. Because to some degree we are cyclical beings, although we're evolutionary beings. I do believe we're evolving out of this cyclical nature, from being in these yes-no bipolar mindsets. You know, because one of the things I found out, the whole Earth's bipolar, actually. Like, they say, I'm bipolar. No, you're all bipolar. You're all double-minded. You're all having a war within your own mind between yes and no, yes and no. This is happening, this isn't happening. This is happening, this isn't happening. That there's a war within each and every single person's mind. I'm good enough, I'm not good enough. I'm good enough, I'm not good enough. I have reasons to be happy, I don't have reasons to be happy. I have reasons to be happy, I don't have reasons to be happy. Blah, 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 blah. That determines our behavior. That determines our confidence. It determines how we come across. It determines our decision-making processes. And it determines everything it is that we do. So, if you want to make sure that your choices and your thought processes are for the utmost importance towards your health and your life and your fulfillment and your happiness is your health, and your health is your wealth. If you don't have health, you got nothing. It doesn't matter what it is you have. If you don't have any sense of well-being within inside of yourself, so you will not have any health, and you will have nothing. Right? So health is wealth, for very big reasoning and purpose. If you don't have health, you don't have energy, you can't do anything. You're just, and it's not just physiological health, it's psychological health, because your psychological state affects your physiological state. your psychological health will reflect upon your physiological health and vice versa. Those two are basically like intertwined. Okay, they're connected, two peas in a pod. And basically, so what you want to do is you want to face those psychological traumas within your body. You want to find, based on new belief systems in which it is that you're adopting, faith-based belief systems, not fear-based belief systems. And then those belief systems will give you a reason in order to let go of whatever trauma it is you're holding on to by then choosing to actually perceive it in a different perspective. You will change the way in which it is you relate to that memory energy construct, and then you end up actually reprogramming your energetic field. When you do that, you will change your relationship between yourself and those memories. So if those memories ever pop up again, they may actually will stop popping up after a while, or even sometimes immediately, depending on how much you've been doing this or how advanced you are at doing this. And essentially what you do by doing this is you start mastering your emotions and you start mastering your energy, because whenever any certain level of emotion comes in, it won't have the same triggers. And what I'm explaining to you is how to transmute the energy of those triggers. And the way in which you do that is by transmuting your relationship between these potentially traumatizing memory energy complexes in order to somehow get past that trauma in whichever way it is in your own mind that you've convinced yourself to be able to do that, based on the new faith-based belief system in which it is that you're choosing to adopt in order to reprogram your subconscious, in order to reprogram your psychology, your mind, your spirit, your energy, your soul. You know? And when you do this, you will have far less randomly occurring moments of discomfort and fear flowing throughout you. And then it'll become a lot easier to be happier, calmer, not jump to dramatized, ridiculous conclusions or assumptions in your mind that can generate and cause you to feel fear for no reason, and then ultimately leading yourself towards living habitually in an anxious state where the nature of your thoughts and your decision-making capability are clouded and not existing within a state of free-flowing clarity, which can help you stay calm, help you stay relaxed, and help you have trust in yourself and everything that's going on. Of course, this is a lot easier said than done. It does take work, but every single moment you do it, you evolve. And that's what should be taken into consideration. Every single moment in which it is that you choose to adopt new faith-based belief systems that are conducive towards you not being in a state of subtle anxiety, because the whole world's basically in a state of subtle anxiety, right? And that anxiety provides that discomfort provides that unhappiness, and it also leads our decision-making processes towards the direction of thinking that we need to attain or accomplish or achieve something in order to be able to get rid of this anxiety. Ironically enough, it never does do that, and then people never become satisfied because their remedy for their diagnosis turned out to be absolutely incorrect. And ultimately, if you want to live like a happy life, where stuff happens for you all the time, good stuff, you got to get your vibes straight, right? And you can't do that if you haven't healed your relationship towards certain memory energy constructs of fear or trauma that you may have experienced throughout your life, that have created either extremely negative reinforcing belief systems or positive reinforcing belief systems. So think about what I'm saying, because every single moment you choose to look beyond appearances and choose to look beyond a thought or a conclusion or assumption that's guided or based on fear, you will actually be right then and there reprogramming your consciousness, reprogramming your energetic field, reprogramming your psychological body, your physical body, everything. So it is very important, it is very helpful, and it is very useful. If you like this video, then please do me a favor, click like, subscribe, Head on over to Patreon.